I'm Liz from Night Owl Crafts Australia. Today we're looking at roses and how to prune them and the reasons why you should be pruning them. Tosh, my able assistant, will be able to have the run of the garden while we're doing this. Equipment that you need to prune roses. First of all, a long sleeved top, because if you don't wear a long sleeved top you'll end up with very scratched arms. A good pair of gloves to avoid getting your fingers pricked. A pair of pruning shears. Also a pair of loppers. These are for the larger branches. You will also possibly need a saw if the branches are particularly large. You will also need methylated spirits or bleach to clean the pieces of equipment between each rose bush and before pruning and after pruning to stop infecting or cross-infecting between the bushes. Whenever you're working in the garden, it's important to also wear eye protection, either sunglasses or eye goggles. You don't want to end up with eye injuries from branches or prickles. With pruning roses, if you cut them back by around about 1/4, it's considered a light prune. Back by about 1/2 is a moderate prune, and 3/4 is a fairly hard prune. Today we'll be looking at doing it about 1/2 or 50% prune, which is a moderate prune. General principles are that we are looking to remove any dead wood, and here we have a section of dead wood. We're looking to remove old wood because it's less productive as far as producing flowers next season. Roses like to get good air circulation. We also want to declutter the centre of the rose, so any branches that are facing inwards, such as this one here, you can cut off fairly flush with the branch it's attached to. It's important to look at the rose, to step back and have a look at the rose for a little while before you start cutting, because you can always take a bit more away but you can't put it back, and you need to get an idea of the shape that you're trying to achieve with the rose, where its strengths are. So you're looking for strong branches, and on this rose this is a particularly strong branch. This little one down here is a very weak branch, so we could get rid of that altogether. So with this rose, the other thing that you need to be aware of is where branches cross over each other, they will ultimately wear a patch in the other branch, and that's an introduction point for disease. So you want to prevent branches crossing over each other. There's another branch here that's heading inwards, so we'll take that one off at its base. So now we've cleared out the inwardly facing branches, we're now looking to cut the bush back by about 1/2, trying to find outwardly facing buds such as this one here. As you're making your cuts, try and angle them in downwards towards the centre of the bush. This section up here has died back because the previous cut was made too high above the budding area. As I mentioned before, at most about an inch to 1 centimetre above the cut, angling down in towards. facing bud is that branch. It takes sometimes a bit of effort to disentangle them, hence the advantage of having some form of eye protection. Another little branch is heading off, overlapping this one, so I'll take that off. Constantly looking for outwardly facing buds, and remembering that by cutting back the rows at this time of year, being winter in Australia, you are making it a more vigorous rose for the next season. This is another inwardly facing branch, so we'll take that one off. Branches off. If roses are not pruned each year, they will eventually become fairly sickly and less productive of flowers. Some roses will still be blooming quite late in the season, but at this point in time they are becoming dormant, have lost most of their leaves, and so now is the best time to prune them. So we have reduced the rose bush by about a half from its original height, which was somewhere above me, to now half its size. So you can see now that the centre is all nicely open, and this will promote good airflow. You need good airflow to try and prevent mould and other fungal diseases attacking the rose. The general principles, just to go over them once more: when you're pruning a rose bush, you do it when it's dormant, so that's in the middle of winter. You aim to declutter the centre of the rose, so any branches that are growing inwards you remove. You remove branches that are rubbing against each other or crossing over each other. You cut the branches back to an outward facing bud. This will mean that the branch will then grow outwards away from the centre of the bush. There will still be some buds that are facing inwards, but that's okay. They can, if they grow, can be trimmed off at a later stage. It's important to clear away around the base of the rose. Having a lot of greenery growing close up to the rose competes with the rose for the nutrients in the soil, and will also retain moisture and increase the likelihood of fungal diseases attacking the rose. Having cleared away all the greenery from around the base of the rose, towards the end of winter, you want to put down some general purpose fertiliser or rose specific fertiliser. I favour Sudden Impact for Roses, which is available in Australia, but other general rose foods are also good for the rose. You would be putting down that fertiliser at the end of winter as the rose starts to kick into life. In the spring, as the rose starts to put out new growth, keep a close eye on it for insect pests like aphids, which are very prone to attacking the new growth. You may also spray the rose as the new growth comes to help prevent black spot or other fungal diseases attacking the leaves, and some roses are more susceptible to that than others. Having put in all this hard work caring for your rose in its dormant season, you can then look forward to a real flush of beautiful roses in spring through summer and into autumn. We'd like to give thanks to Frank, who has lent his garden for this filming. And this has been another session from Night Owl Crafts Australia. Thanks to Tosh, my able assistant, and Helen, my photographer. will also need either methylated spirits or bleach to clean the pieces of equipment in between each rose bush and at the beginning and end of each pruning session. You do this to prevent the spread of fungi or bacteria between the rose bushes, thus infecting one rose bush with the clippers from the previous rose bush.